United States submarine base at Key West, Florida. A dispatch that quoted President Truman's press secretary, Charles Ross, as saying that President Truman has no knowledge of any secret project by this government that would give substance to the existence of such objects. Ross also said that both the Air Force and the Navy deny that such
Hi.
objects exist.
Hi.
Um, I just want to say I'm very thankful that I got my flu shot and my COVID vaccine because flu type A is beating the shit out of everyone right now. And I probably did get it and am getting over it. But it's been like a 3-day turnaround time with nothing even remotely bad. Like I had a tickle in my throat, but other than that was fine. And now I'm like super stuffed up and mucusy, but totally fine. So I feel very thankful that I did that because everyone else looks like they're fucking dying.
Oh, I feel like we are the walking billboard advertisements for vaccine cocktails. Like,
Yeah.
anytime when I remember going to the pharmacist to get my shot, and he's like, "Do you want these other vaccines in there?" And I was like, "Fucking give me all you got." All you got.
Yeah.
Every time. They're
Yeah.
like, "Do you want this? Do you want this?" I'm like, "Yep, just give it to me." And then I take a little NyQuil. I go home and have a nice little nappy nap. And I do still get sick, but I think it's like what you're saying. The duration and the severity is much more manageable.
Oh, yeah. The severity is like no big deal. It's genuinely no big deal. And that's coming from someone who has been taken the fuck down by flus and COVID in the past. So I'm, I might sound a little mucusy today, but hey, what's up? My name is Noelle, and I am very thankful to have been vaccinated this holiday season. And I am actually bummed out because I went to a Christmas party and a birthday party on Saturday, and someone there was patient zero. So stay the fuck at home, you disgusting little germs.
Ooh, and I'm Chelsea, and that reminds me, I have a Christmas party to go to tomorrow.
Okay.
Do you ever feel like you make plans or you're like, plans are so far out and then it finally comes and you're like,
Yeah, that's how I felt about this whole entire holiday season. And I don't mean to be a Grinch, but the fact that it's been like 60, 50 degrees in Utah the whole month of December has made it, I just can't get around the fact that it's about to be Christmas next week.
yeah,
It's
like,
not, I'm not feeling it.
yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm excited to go to the party because the people hosting it are some of my favorite people. But also I'm like, is it really already almost Christmas?
Yeah, I don't,
Global warming's taken the last shred of fun out of it.
it really has. It really has. There's and we've talked about it before how like you need to be the magic, but I haven't felt the need because it doesn't feel like December.
Yeah. Like I've gone and I've done stuff, but even like my gifts this year, I don't feel like are inspired at all. It's been like yeah, sure, so and so will like that,
Yeah,
but no magic behind it at
yeah,
all.
I feel that as well. I
So,
also think like when I look outside and there are like still leaves falling off the trees and grass is low key budding up again, I'm like, December came and went.
yeah, it like rained yesterday.
Yeah, it's wild. And then the before we get into today's topic, the continued downstream negative effects of that, of like it getting cold and then it getting warm, so much so that grass and buds are like budding up. And then
Hmm.
eventually, when we do get like our first snow or freeze or whatever you want to call it, they'll die again. And come actual spring, we'll have used all of their energy and sugar molecules and stuff to like, they won't be able to rebud again.
Ugh.
Eh,
Everything I hear is more depressing. It's like I'm a snowball. I started at the top of the mountain. I am just accumulating depression the more I go down and the longer I exist.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we have a really bad fire season, because everything's going to be dead. It's not even going to bloom again because it'll have spent all of its energy trying to bloom in this fake spring in the middle of winter. So anyway,
Well, let's change the subject to something more fun, shall we?
let's do it.
Childhood.
Yay.
Picture this. You're 10 years old, sitting in a classroom that's too bright, smells like pencil shavings, sour milk, the milk that Noelle just drank and is probably sick now, right before a podcast.
Oh my God.
And a cop, the old police officer in a crisp uniform, walks in with a lion mascot on a poster and a stack of t-shirts. And he's not here to arrest anyone. He's here to vibe. He's here to be your best friend, Noelle, and he's here to tell you that drugs are bad, that your brain is an egg, and if you ever feel scared or confused, you can talk to him because he's your friend.
Hmm.
And because you're 10 and he has a badge and there's sick merch, you fucking believe him. Buy
That
a
is
hook, line,
true.
and sinker. I did too. I'm not absolved.
The merch is cool. I will say here, though, I hate to admit, I never got the DARE program.
You didn't get it?
No, because instead of the DARE program, we
You
had
just
my
did drugs.
I just did drugs, and I
Yeah.
also had my father landing his helicopter in the football field and bringing like an attack dog out. That's what we did instead of DARE.
Oh, well, that sounds fun though.
And like through elementary to middle, yeah, just elementary and middle school, I think that's like what we did.
But that still is like cops are cool.
Cops
That's
weren't
cool
even
as hell.
cops weren't even there though. It was
But
it low key cut the middleman out and went straight to
the military
the
industrial
DEA.
complex.
Yeah. When it cut the middleman
Uh,
out and went straight to organized federal crime against minorities.
right.
Peace
Well,
and
we'll
love.
pretend. We'll pretend
I'll
that you're in
pretend
it.
I knew about it. I knew
Yeah.
about the dog mascot and I knew about the merch.
It was a lion.
Okay,
You're
whatever.
thinking of Marty. You're thinking of McGruff
I
taking
am
a
thinking
bite
of
out of crime.
McGruff the crime dog.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's all
Okay,
right.
the Dare
It's
Lion.
okay. The
Was
Dare
it?
Lion. Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Dare was a Nancy Reagan program, right?
I think so. It was drug abuse resistance education.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was
We'll
Nancy
dive in.
Reagan.
We'll
Okay,
dive into
okay,
where it
okay,
all started.
okay. Anyway.
So let's fast forward a few decades. And the same millennials who once proudly wore those black and red dead shirts or Dare shirts are dead. We're all dead. Actually, we're probably the biggest proponent of legalizing weed because we're smoking weed in those shirts, joking online about how the program didn't work at all, swapping trauma stories about cops asking children to snitch on their parents. It's peak millennial core of nostalgia and unresolved anxiety in one convenient graphic tee.
Yeah.
So tonight we're going back to fifth grade. And we're going to talk about DARE is a pyramid scheme of vibes, a program born out of police failure, marketed like a self-help MLM, and used to normalize the idea that cops belong in every school, every hallway, and every childhood memory, whether it helped kids or not. We dipped our toe into the lukewarm waters of militarized policedom, and we didn't even fucking know it.
I did.
Yeah, as you watched a cop or your dad land a helicopter with a dog in. Actually, the dog landed the helicopter.
The
You're just
dog, yeah.
remembering it wrong.
Yeah, we have no proof that the
yeah.
dog didn't land the helicopter.
But along the way, we have to ask, did DARE ever actually care if you did drugs? Or was the real product trying to teach children to trust police power all along? Because for a lot of us, DARE is this weird, sticky memory of goofy skits, cheesy posters, and maybe a poem you had to read at graduation, some mortifying time you had to role play saying no to a kid named Kyle who absolutely grew up to sell vape cartridges. But if you scratch the nostalgia, what's underneath is a massive national project that put uniformed cops in classrooms, burned through hundreds of millions of dollars, and basically did nothing to reduce youth drug use. And it quietly trained kids to see police as friendly, normal, and unavoidable background scenery.
That's what I was going to say. There's part of you, right, that probably as a parental figure in the late 90s heard about this program and was like, yeah, that makes sense. Like, yeah, I'm going to sign this permission slip so you can go to this assembly. This makes sense. Like, I don't want my kids to do drugs. And there's this, I don't know, this passing ideology of like, this is objectively good. What could absolutely be wrong about this? And I don't think anyone, even for a fucking beat, realized like what is actually wrong with this. What the DARE program did or lack of doing, right? Because I do think that there is a version of reality where you can put an outreach program in schools to talk about like not just drugs, but also sexual abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse, in food insecurity, shelter insecurity, clothing insecurity. I think there's a place where all of that can live, and I think it's through the arm of the guidance counselor and not a police state. And
Yeah.
it's the same ideology that goes into we should be having like crisis counselors in some of these
Yeah.
situations where people call 911 rather than a guy who barely got his GED and can't run a mile in less than 15 minutes who has a fucking pistol, right?
Yeah.
Like it's the same concept. I don't I I think that if you want a safe place for kids to feel comfortable to like speak and ask questions and get help or resources and know that they're not going to get in trouble, it needs to be through a crisis counseling or a guidance counselor and not the fucking cops. And I feel like we've missed that beat as a collective society to acknowledge, right?
Yeah.
Because there, it's almost like a effect of the latchkey kid, right? Your parents are both working full time and you just gave them a permission slip that has to be signed as you're driving them to drop them off because they should have given it to you last week, but you got it this morning. You're
Yeah.
not going, wait, why are the cops coming here to talk to you? What? You're not doing that.
It's so innocuous on paper too.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I don't want my kid to do drugs, so whatever. Yeah, they can get talked to. And then the kid who always got pulled out of stuff like that was always labeled as the weird kid
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
because they were labeled as the other, like the minority of thought in that. And you're like, why is that kid not allowed to
Yeah.
like be around cops, you know?
Yeah.
So let's start where all good conspiracies start. Los Angeles, the 1980s, that sweet, sweet cocaine and PR panic. So Dare didn't float down from the Nancy Reagan thought bubble on a cloud of hairspray because it was actually born out of a very specific failure. And that was in the 1970s, the LAPD tried to fight youth drug use the classic cop way with undercover cops in schools, drug stings, and arrests. They went full narc in the cafeteria, and it didn't work because drug use among students just went up. So it's amazing what happens when your intervention is just, hey, let's traumatize the fuck out of these kids.
Yeah.
But in the early 80s, LAPD Chief Daryl Gates, yes, the guy who invented SWAT, who oversaw violent sweeps in Black and Latin neighborhoods, and once told Congress that casual drug users ought to be taken out and shot, had a problem.
Right.
On the streets, his drug war was brutal and openly racist. Complaints and protests were growing, and the LAPD's image was stormtroopers with batons and not kindly neighborhood guardians. So Gates and the brass needed something softer, something a little more photogenic, and something that put a smiling face on the same department that was battering down doors in South Central. So they came up with a genius idea, which was, what if we turn cops into teachers? So in 1983, the LAPD team teamed up with the LA School District to launch Project DARE. 17 weeks of curriculum, followed by uniformed officers pitched as kinder and gentler in front of the war on drugs. And this is where the pyramid scheme energy starts. Because think about what an MLM does. It wraps itself in a moral mission, usually empowering women, financial freedom, boss babe culture, and it creates a recognizable brand and mascot, and then trains you to see yourself as part of their family, and then spreads through your friends, your church, your school until it feels way too normal to question. I mean, I myself have been in the throes of an asthma attack, and I've had someone come up with a little doTERRA oil and be like, "Do you want some peppermint for your lip?" And I'm like, "Yeah, let's try it."
That would
It's so
send me
fucking weird,
into
right?
psychosis.
It's
That would kill
crazy,
me.
right? Like for medics and EMTs that I see at some of these games with doTERRA oils on there, and I just see it and like to not even question it. And I'm like, oh, yeah, whatever. Like, or put a little lavender on your pillow to fall asleep at night. I'm like, yeah, okay.
Okay, there is a
Like, But it's like, you know what I mean? It's like it
There's
becomes
a
so
difference,
easy.
but yes.
But we think when there's like lack of harm because physically there's no repercussion, we abandon the thought that what's happening is terrible. Yeah, a cop coming in to tell my kid to not be around drugs, whatever. I'll sign on for that all day. I don't really want cops around my fucking kids though when they're beating people to death in the streets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like the cop coming into the classroom is the little bit of peppermint oil on your lip. But the real problem is I have bronchial issues and I need actual medicine, Noelle.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. It's true. We shouldn't be putting untrained adults into classrooms.
Yeah, statistically, if you're more likely to beat your fucking wife in this profession, I don't want you talking to my kid.
Exactly. And it's like we could joke about how the academy is a barely 12-week program for non-educated individuals who couldn't kick it in the military but want a gun. And now you're going to put them in front of children?
I want to see the background checks on these men.
Like,
is that Lion? What the fuck? Is that Lion one of the ghosts in the darkness that Val Kilmer had to fight in that movie?
I want to
know.
If you can't read past a fifth grade level, you shouldn't be standing in front of a fifth grade class.
If you don't, how many years of school do you have to go to even become it? Well, actually, you know what? You don't even have to go to school anymore to become a teacher. But you're so fucking right. Yeah, you used to.
You used to. Back when they were doing it. That's what kills me is like they're coming off of the era of stop and frisk, which is just like if I have a vibe check and I don't like your vibe, I can fucking just grab you and detain you and search you with no probable cause other than your vibes. They're coming off that and then they're rolling into the classrooms. Like, Jesus Christ. It really is so dark coded, but there is such a cognitive dissonance between the police state, what the police do, police qualifications, and what the police in a child's classroom looks like. There's so much cognitive dissonance there because you've been spoon-fed like, no, they're good, they're protect and serve, blah. But you don't realize that like they literally just got done shooting a family dog and now they're in the classroom by fucking noon. That's crazy.
We're all okay with it because they're not coming in and selling us candles or leggings. They're like, no, we're going to sell you police legitimacy.
Yeah, we're going to sell you sobriety, which you're like, okay. It's so funny. It's a little bit of sleight of hand magic in a way if you think about it, because they're like, what do you mean you don't want your kids to learn about the dangers of drug use? And you're like, oh God, I do.
Then we're going to look at you closer and your kid's going to get fucking scrutinized.
It's so nefarious when you stop and think about it. When you're like, why is this untrained professional in the classroom talking about like, and I think like that's the other funny part about it is like that maybe I didn't get to experience because we had the straight to the source main vein and hookup.
Yeah.
What the fuck does a beat cop know about drugs? Like what the fuck does he know? What does Mr. Traffic Stops know about drugs? Like what the fuck does he know?
I want a guy in the CIA telling me how the pipeline is political, how all of that, like, we want to call it Mexican black tar heroin, but really we're the ones putting that in there so that we can run our guns and launder that money. I want to know that shit. I want to know to question everything.
Yeah, I want the guy who is coming from an undisclosed 3-name government agency in a black suit and tie to say Ronald Reagan was selling crack. I want him. That's what I want. I don't want fucking Joseph who couldn't pass his SATs and became a fucking podunk ass cop who's been writing traffic tickets and beating minorities all day. What the fuck does he know?
Yeah, I want the guy who is like, when you see that little red dot on your fucking forehead, that's how you know the cocaine is going to be good. Is that not true though? Like, the closer you get to pissing off the government with your ideas, that's where you know that that's where the drugs are coming from. But instead we got trust the police.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, well, anyway, Within a decade of that first pilot program, DARE exploded. At its peak, officers taught the program in more than 75% of American school districts, and taxpayers were spending up to $750 million a year on it.
Perfect.
And this, yeah, and this wasn't like the run-of-the-mill cop, Officer Dan, who drops by your homeroom. It was a national brand and it was an empire. There was a national training network for officers, a branded mascot, Darren the Lion, and a parent, Darren, and a parent program to pull families in a whole universe of t-shirts, bumper stickers, posters, pencils, keychains, and graduation ceremonies where we all pledged our tiny drug-free hearts to the cause.
Dude, merch really makes a motherfucker jump.
Oh, do you remember like My Child's a Dare program bumper sticker things?
Yeah. And also, okay, off topic, but semi on topic. I'm not saying this is a bad thing like Dare, but they would drop the fucking Snoopy merch for the blood drives, and you would be 10 years old, like, take it.
Oh,
take it from what?
Take my lifeblood.
How is that illegal?
Oh my God.
How they were taking the blood from the children.
Yes. But Woodstock is so cute.
They were like, I've got to get this fucking Snoopy shirt.
Yeah, right. And if I got Lucy, I was pissed because she was a bitch.
Yeah, and you're like, no parental signature needed there. It's just like at your lunch, you're like, they come in and they're like, you guys want to donate blood? It's totally no big deal. And check out this cool shirt you'll get. And you're like, yeah, let me
take it.
That. All of a sudden, you're lightheaded through the last 4 hours of the day. Like, it's so funny how merch will really make a motherfucker jump. And Dare knew that. Dare was like, we need to get the branded yo-yos. We need to get the fucking keychains and the t-shirts and the hats. What does our merch budget look like?
Yeah, I'm still not exempt. I want the merch.
Yeah, I know.
I have
merch will get me.
If I see a Dare shirt at Savers for a good price, I might buy it.
Yeah, you don't know.
They're still gonna get my ass.
Yeah.
And you know what? Congress loved it. So Reagan loved it, and Obama actually declared National Dare Day like it was a federal holiday. Bill Clinton shouted out Dare officers in the State of the Union as heroes, quote, making a real impression on grade school children. And spoiler alert, they did, but just not the impression he thought. Because here's what the MLM metaphor really looks like and where it really locks in. Headquarters, Dare America, creates the brand and the curriculum. So local police departments buy in with training, staffing, and merch budgets. Schools provide the warm leads, which is a deeply cursed way to describe an entire classroom of 10-year-olds, but here we are. Parents and politicians supply the free marketing and moral cover, showing up for Dare graduations and clapping while their kids read essays about how they will never ever touch beer or drugs.
Wait, Dare was about beer too?
Yeah. Drug abuse resistance education also covered like DUI shit. Like we would wear the little beer goggles and stuff and try to bowl.
Now I'm kind of jealous. Let me actually, before we get into that, I want to talk about DUIs. Another thing that my school did, which apparently was different. Okay. The reason why we didn't have my dad land a helicopter in high school is because we had a whole theatrical DUI play where the Grim Reaper came on the hour. You would hear the death bell ring and he would come into a classroom and take a kid out. And that kid would be a victim of a DUI accident. And
that's
then
actually kind of
at the end of the week, okay, and they've been taken out of school all week long. There is a actual car from a DUI accident wrapped around our flagpole, because keep in mind, I went to school in California, so it was the school was outside. It's not like in Utah where they're buildings, right? So you have to like walk through the quad to get anywhere, so you would pass it, okay? And they did a fucking funeral on Friday. Everyone came into the fucking assembly. Everyone's parents from the kids who were pulled out of class that died were up there giving eulogies. Okay? And if you went to the rich school,
they actually killed the kids.
They basically they did a fucking play. So they had you out on the football field in the stands. They did a mock DUI accident where they brought an ambulance to take the girl out of the car. She's a student I think her name was Morgan, and she was a cheerleader. And
Man, to be that girl, how
they
fun.
used the jaws of life on her to get her out of this car that was actually used in a real accident, put her on a stretcher. She's in practical effects makeup. She's looking fucked up, and she gets helicoptered off, life flighted.
That's so fun. Imagine being that kid.
I I
They didn't
can't.
do that. They didn't do that for
So
me.
that's what we had.
That's way more metal and traumatizing.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, but still, Cameron Park, California has the highest amount of DUIs I've ever fucking seen ever. They have so
yeah.
many DUIs. The people I went to high school with have so many DUIs that it's book and release now on a DUI.
Yeah, that's
So,
insane.
and like
Um,
they don't really have Ubers running through that fucking suburb. But anyway, I digress. Tell me more
yes.
about Dare. Tell me about what I missed.
Um, so the product that they're all moving up, that's just fucking insane too, by the way, that they like.
They called it a
How did that
product.
one kid, I'm more gooped that that one girl got picked to go on a helicopter ride and get the jaws of life. Like, how lucky is that? Like, how did she get picked?
I don't know.
I
I
think it
don't
was a
know.
popularity contest and it's bullshit.
I think it could have been a popularity contest because of who she was, but I also think that they picked kids from the drama department.
Okay, that makes more sense. Well, anyway.
But there was like a mix though, because like not all drama kids were like popular. There was a mix of like popular, well-known kids. So like that the eulogies and the fake funeral that we all had to attend, like,
Like everybody pretty much knew him.
people were
Yeah.
crying, dude.
Yeah. I hope they did cry.
So anyway.
Um, the only thing, okay, let me just, why did they trauma? So we had a teacher whose son died of cancer, which was super horrible. So we had a
Mhm.
big assembly where it was just the Phil Collins, like I'll be in your arms or you'll be in my arms, you know, the
Shut
Tarzan
up.
song,
Shut up.
playing, yeah, playing with like black and white images of this little boy. And they brought out a Native American hoop dancer to
Were
dance
they
while it
native?
was playing. I think I do, I don't remember the context. I think yeah, I think like a friend knew, or I think
I'm
it
let's
was
just
tied. I
we
can't remember why it was tied
we
in.
have to say it was, or else I'm not going to be able to sleep at night. We have
The
to say they were
teacher, the
native.
little boy was so blonde, so I don't remember how
Oh
it
my
tied in.
God.
But I remember him doing like a hoop dance while I'm watching, and everybody's fucking crying because of how sad it is. And I just remember being like, what? Now that I'm an adult, I'm like, what the fuck was that? And it just popped back into my head.
And they were like, now go back to class and do algebra.
Yep. What is up with schools,
That's the
dude?
best part, dude. That's what I fucking love. I'll Speaking of one more thing about being traumatized, it was genuinely one of the best experiences I've ever had. Not best as in good, but like one of the most profound experiences I ever had. They brought a Holocaust survivor in to talk to us about surviving the concentration camp she was in.
Uh-huh.
And it genuinely just shook me to my core. And she made it a point to say, like, I am one of the few surviving. It is like your responsibility to like
Yeah.
learn and know and pass this knowledge on so it never happens again. Ding ding ding, where we are now. But they had us, and it was like an early period. It was probably like second or third period, early in the fucking morning, getting a in-person Holocaust retelling by a survivor. And then the bell rings and you got to go to biology? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I have just had the genocide of millions of Jewish people put on my back as a teenager with an undeveloped brain. I am processing the things that she said and showed us. And now I have to go to bio lab.
It's
That's that's cruel. That's
I
insane.
think
That's wild.
I think I think my sisters wrote a letter to Meep Geese, who was the lady who hid Anne Frank, and she wrote them back.
Oh
Like,
my God.
but they were like, "Hi, we're like 8, and we just want to say we think you're really neat." And she like actually fucking wrote them back, but like the way that they downplay trauma and then
Trauma, yeah.
actively like
Yeah.
first off, awesome that she did, and it was super cool. I think my obviously my dad has like the letters in his safe, but thinking about how God, we were so indoctrinated to just bottle shit down, weren't we?
Yeah, they're like,
So
hey,
traumatizing.
You went to a fake funeral. Have fun filling out
Yeah,
this
go back.
fucking algebra test. You're
Yeah.
timed.
Fuck.
Christ, dude, it's so fucked up. Oh,
I
okay,
feel like my
anyway,
vision is closing in. Oh my God. Okay.
back to Dare.
So the product that they're trying to move up the pyramid is not to lower drug use. It's the idea that cops belong inside children's everyday lives. So historian Max Felker Cantor, who wrote the book Dare to Say No about all of this, argues that the program's real success was in normalizing police presence and the drug war in daily life. It wasn't actually seeking to change any drug behavior. Um, because at the end of the day, Dare only looked like prevention, but functionally it was marketing. So, what were we actually taught? So, from the 80s to the early 2000s, the classic Dare model was an abstinence only. All drug use was abuse, and the only choice was to just say no, and that nuance was for nerds and social workers. Officers ran kids through skits about the dangers of crack babies and inner city gangs, even though the LAPD's own data said most teens were experimenting with alcohol and weed, not freebasing behind the gym like a very special episode of Saved by the Bell. And the curriculum gave you scare stories. It gave you peer pressure role plays where your classmates pretended to be tiny little drug dealers offering you a cigarette behind the playground and then rewarded you with a graduation certificate and a t shirt if you said the right things. And it didn't give you any harm reduction. There was literally no honest talk about safe use, no space for kids who are already using or whose parents were addicted,
Yeah.
no tools for navigating reality beyond never, ever, ever. And public health research now widely recognizes that purely abstinence only programs don't work and can actually increase shame and risk, which is such a fun twist when you think about how many of us were in that classroom quietly going, like, cool, my dad drinks a 12 pack in a weekend. So what do I fucking do with that?
I think it's so telling, right? Abstinence only education doesn't work for anything. It
I got
doesn't,
abstinence only education in Utah
I
for sex
know,
ed.
I know, and that's unbelievable. That's actually unbelievable. And it's so harmful and it's so detrimental and it's so uneducated. It's not even nuanced. It's just stupid. It's just stupid because it does not fucking work. And
Yeah.
it puts, there's a reason why Utah has these fucking STI outburst bubbles. And it's
Mm-hmm.
because they are taught abstinence only. And so any outlet for harm reduction or protection or understanding of how sexually transmitted infections are spread, because most of these motherfuckers don't know that if you have a cold sore on your lip and you suck a dick or eat someone out, you're going to give them herpes.
Dude,
Hello.
I didn't know until my 20s that if I ate grapefruit with my antibiotic or with my birth control that could like fuck it up, or antibiotics will make it so that your birth control is ineffective.
It's like abstinence only does
No.
nothing. It does absolutely nothing. It goes for both sex education and, as we see here, like drug and alcohol or alcohol abuse prevention, like same fucking thing. Because
Yeah.
exactly, also like, and this goes back to me saying like we needed crisis counselors or guidance counselors because how many kids in the class were like, oh, like my dad's an alcoholic. What do I do? Like they
Dude,
needed an outlet. They needed someone to fucking talk to.
exactly. I experienced this first fucking hand because my parents drank and my dad smoked cigarettes. So I distinctly remember being in this weird situation where all of a sudden I'm the other
Mhm.
because my dad has a beer with dinner and he smokes cigarettes. I had friends who at that time stopped wanting to have sleepovers at my house because my dad smoked, or my dad would offer to take me and some of my friends out. We went to a rodeo one time and my dad had a beer while we were all playing at the fair. And then some of those kids were like, we can't go home with your dad because we don't want to die in a drunk driving accident. And it was
Oh
like,
my God.
Jesus Christ. And
Yeah.
when you're like 11 or 12, that's so fucking traumatizing because I'm sitting there thinking, like, okay, so like if I align with my dad, I'm putting my friends at risk. Or if I let my friends leave, then I'm not their friend anymore. So I remember like calling my mom and being like, I don't know what to do because dad had a beer and now my friends don't want to be friends with me anymore. And my mom's like, I don't know how to fucking handle this.
Yeah,
either.
she's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
She's like, a beer? Grow the fuck up. But then I'm going to school and this
Yeah.
cop is telling me, and on the low end, it's cigarettes and beer, right? But then imagine a kid who's like, dad takes a gummy to sleep at night because he doesn't get any care after being in fucking war. You
Yeah,
know what I
exactly.
mean?
Exactly.
And we're going to
Or
dive into it, but
imagine, you have a relative on hospice and they have medical marijuana.
exactly.
It just puts so much convoluted confusion in a young child's mind. And also the other thing about like not speaking truth and only speaking abstinence only, you're setting them up for failure because these kids aren't going to fucking grow up and be straight edge. A majority of them are going to have a few fucking beers and maybe a glass of wine. They should know
Exactly.
what that actually
And
looks like because
yeah.
how many of us as adults are like trying to do the mental math of time and what you've had to drink versus do I need to call an Uber or should I drive? Like being able to have that honest conversation of like the what is it called? What is that called when you blow the number?
Your blood alcohol
Yeah, your
content.
blood alcohol content. Learning the actual science and understanding behind your blood alcohol content for both your height, weight, amount, and time.
Ethnicity.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
you need to know these things and we are never taught. Your life could be changed forever depending on what state you're in, how much you've had to drink, and when you decide to get behind the wheel. Like genuinely. And we don't
Yeah.
know anything about it other than there's one magic number that'll get if you blow it, you're gone. Like, but we
Yeah.
don't know. We were never taught. Even me, who like received non-abstinence education, I was never
Mhm.
told like what this looks like in different people, and especially for people who were taught full abstinence only education on this, you're totally going in blind.
Yeah, and it's absolutes, right? It's like all or nothing. So the
Yeah.
second that you have one, it is like a complete slippery slope that you already lost. So it's a zero sum game. And I didn't learn a lot of this stuff until college when this is so fucking embarrassing when I was in like all my pre-law classes where they would talk about how they calculate the law. So they would be like, so you ask people to try to flub up their math. Okay, well, how much have you had to drink? Okay, well, you had 2 beers, and then we're going to learn whether or not it's worth it to like push forward. You know what I mean? I learned it from the side of like the police and how to punish people who drank, but I never learned it from the other side of like, you're a human. It's
What does
okay to have
responsibly,
alcohol.
yeah, what does
Yeah.
responsible drinking look like?
Yeah. So still, even in my mind, I'm still, and this isn't the end of the world. Like if I'm the DD, I'm not having anything. But what it also did was look at people who drank or people who smoked as bad people. And that's
Mhm.
still sometimes a narrative that we have to fucking deal with. You know what I mean? Like, Jesus, man, this fucked people up bad. But obviously, by the mid 90s, the long term studies were pretty clear, and that was DARE had little to no effect on whether or not kids actually used drugs. So it was memorable. It wasn't effective. Like, I remember the lion and I remember the t shirt. I remember the fucking logo,
Mhm.
but the part where it was supposed to keep us sober, like, absolutely not. And any kids who maybe teetered on that line, like me, who I didn't smoke, I didn't drink until after I was 21. Like I honestly was like followed that fucking line, but what it did do was ostracize me from friends who during that pivotal time, it made me think like, oh, okay, well then I'm less than or my parents aren't good people. Like it
Mhm.
fucks with the mindset of like me as a little kid and it just
Mhm.
kept going. So like in MLM terms, the product is trash, but the community and the story are fucking addictive. So you keep recruiting. So we get to like the messed up part that still hits a nerve when people talk about DARE. And that was that DARE officers were framing themselves as trusted confidants. The cool cop you could talk to if something was wrong at home, the cop who played basketball with you after you went to school and told you, like, if you ever need anything, you can come to me. But they're still fucking cops, dude.
The cops were
History,
playing basketball?
yeah, cops would come and play basketball as part of DARE. They would come to PE and play with you. They would like input themselves in as like, I'm the friend and confidant you can talk.
What the fuck?
So I distinctly remember like asking, like, well, my parents drink and
And they said, go ahead and give me your home address.
well, so we're gonna get into it because like they're not after me. They're after the other kids. You know what I mean? They're not
Yeah.
after little Chelsea and,
Yeah.
blonde hair,
Yeah.
blue eyes.
Yeah.
My dad smoked cigarettes. That's
Yeah.
what they were fucking after.
Oh, for sure.
Because what really happened is that historically, That program is full of stories where children told their dare officer about a parent's drug use and then had to watch their parent get arrested. One chilling case, 11-year-old girl named Crystal Grendel told a guidance counselor that her parents smoked weed after being assured that nothing bad would happen. But days later, 3 dare officers pulled her out of class and interrogated her about her parents and told her that they'd be arrested if she didn't cooperate. And that
Jesus.
yep, and that she shouldn't warn her parents because parents could beat their children if their children talked to the police. So, they didn't nurture her, they just scared the fuck out of her to turn her parents into the enemy and the police into the saviors. So, obviously, the little girl told them everything they wanted to hear because at that point it had been normalized. You can tell the police anything they want to know. So, the cops raided her home, arrested her parents, and then scrambled to find somewhere to dump her and her sister because they hadn't bothered to plan anything for the fucking kids.
Unbelievable.
And a court later said that the officers' actions were shocking to the conscience, and Crystal's family won a huge lawsuit. And the program officials' reaction was basically like, hey, some families deserve it. Because one administrator said that an arrest is the best thing that could ever happen to a parent, which is something that you only say if you've never met the foster care system in real life.
It's also something you only say if you have no idea how one petty crime arrest can change the trajectory of your life completely. You can't get housing, you can't get certain jobs, you can't get approved for certain loans, you can't be around to do certain things, even volunteering things. And a petty, non-violent crime can just absolutely derail you from society. That's so... And that's not even taking into consideration what happens to your children. That is so unbelievably uneducated and willfully ignorant. It's painful.
But it served exactly the purpose that they wanted it to, which was it trained kids to confide in uniformed cops. And it blurred the line between educator and enforcer, and it turned children into informants against their own families. I told on my fucking dad.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, well, my dad drinks and smokes. Is he a bad person? And the cops are like, oh, but how does he drink and drive? Does he do this? And when they found out, like, oh, no, then we don't give a fuck. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So in the 90s, a group called Parents Against Dare formed. And not just because the curriculum didn't work, but mostly that they were horrified at this quiet pipeline of kids as snitches, bringing police deeper into the home. They weren't keeping kids off drugs. They were really just building a surveillance network and slapping a cute lion on it. Fucking Darren.
Fuck that bitch ass Darren.
So let's really zoom out. So in a public books essay that we talked about earlier, Faulkner Cantor called Dare exactly what it was: police propaganda. The program gave cops a friendly, photo op ready face at the exact same time that departments were running violent raids, SWAT deployments, and hyper-punitive drug sweeps in Black and Latin neighborhoods. Dare softened the image of the warrior cop by turning him into a classroom buddy, linked drug policy to law enforcement instead of public health, and created a huge constituency of kids, parents, and teachers who were emotionally invested in their officer. Faulkner Cantor pointed out that after Dare, it became almost impossible to imagine drug prevention that didn't involve police. Once you've been conditioned to think of the cop as your first line of defense against drugs, then everything else from counselors, social workers, harm reduction workers comes second. The message is that when in doubt, you call the fucking cops. And remember, this is what is happening while the broader war on drugs is filling prisons, especially with Black and brown people, for exactly the substances that your officer was telling you are only bad kids use. So Dare created one story in the classroom and enforced another on the street. And it's like those MLMs tell you, like, we're a sisterhood empowering women while the women at the top get rich and everyone else goes into debt. The feel-good messaging hides who's actually benefiting.
Yeah.
So in Dare's case, the people at the top of the pyramid are police departments. They were gaining legitimacy and budget, and politicians were getting photo ops with kids in their drug-free sashes. And the broader system was embedding itself deeper into daily life. And everyone was paying in anxiety and t-shirt cotton. And if you look at Dare now, you see them talk about their new evidence-based curriculum, keeping it real,
Oh my
and
God.
how they're no longer that old just say no dinosaur. And sure, the program has changed but some modern versions emphasize decision-making skills, communication. They talk about bullying, internet safety. They try to pivot away from the peer scare tactics, in the same way that like diet culture tried to pivot itself into wellness.
Yeah, girl.
But the core structure is the same. There are cops in classrooms, abstinence-centered messaging with a new coat of paint, and an ongoing assumption that law enforcement should be the face of youth prevention. But Felkner Cantor argues that this is the point, because even as public opinion turns against the war on drugs, DARE still gives police a way to keep their hands on the wheel of drug policing by claiming that we've evolved, trust us, we're doing prevention now. So the MLM isn't dead, it's just rebranded. We're going a different, like same shit, different day type thing.
Mm-hmm.
So let's kind of do the red string aspect of it all now. So we have a program created by a notoriously hardline police chief in response to failed law enforcement and bad PR. We have a national network of trained officers, mascots, and graduation ceremonies that spread DARE into 3/4 of American schools and far beyond our borders. We have a curriculum that research shows does not reduce drug use, but did dramatically improve kids' attitudes towards police and embedded cops in school routines. We have documented cases of children being used as informants against their parents, leading to arrests and family trauma. And we have parents and activists who started actively asking, very, very reasonably, why is law enforcement surveillance pipeline wearing a lion mascot and handing out t-shirts? And if you drew all this on a whiteboard with no labels, you'd say, oh, that's a fucking pyramid. And at the bottom of it are millions of kids and families providing data, goodwill, and consent. In the middle are teachers and administrators who get a free babysitter for a period and one less hard conversation to have about drugs and trauma. And at the very top are the police departments and politicians cashing in on good press, budget justification, and a whole generation trained to feel that their presence in school is normal, inevitable, and comforting. But the product is not your sobriety. The product is your trust. So where does that leave the DARE kids? Well, some of us didn't touch drugs, but some of us absolutely did. I think the problem for me personally was while I didn't touch drugs, I also dropped friends who got into drugs who probably needed a fucking friendship. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And some of us became social workers, cops, or addicts, or the friend you call when you're in trouble at 3 a.m, someone who will sit with you on the bathroom floor. But almost all of us share a very weird memory of a cop trying to sell us on the dream of a black t-shirt and a simple story that drugs are the problem and cops are the solution. Trust us. Like I distinctly remember looking to cops to help in situations like my sister fell rollerblading at the park and went to the police station because she had stitches and it was basically like go to the fucking fire department. What are you talking about? They weren't there to ever help kids when the going got tough. So now we kind of look back with these rose-colored glasses where we know more about addiction, harm reduction, and police violence and racialized enforcement. So now we see DARE to look less like the goofy 90s relic and more like an infrastructure for a moral panic that didn't actually save us. So if DARE was your first taste of a pyramid scheme, then congratulations, you were a child recruit in the nationwide branding campaign. But now is the point where we all can opt out. You're allowed to say that like drug education should be run by public health experts, not fucking armed cops. And maybe kids need honest information and support, not scare tactics and surveillance. And that maybe the fact that we remember the t-shirt more than the lesson is the real warning label. So the next time you see the DARE logo on a thrift store or someone ironically wearing it, maybe me. We need to clock it really for what it is, a relic of the time where we let the war on drugs into our classrooms wearing a lion's costume. Like, my God, it was a wolf in sheep's clothing, but we put a lion on it instead.
Exactly.
And we don't need to feel guilty. Like, we were doing our fucking best. So for all the friends that dropped me because my dad smoked, and for all of my friends that I have rekindled friendships now because I know weed isn't evil, like, we're just doing our fucking best, because recognizing the scam is how you stop buying the product.
1,000%.
So,
wow. God. DARE, man. So, I don't know. I feel like I missed the PR campaign of the pyramid scheme, but I definitely understand and felt the effects of it for sure. 1,000%.
Yeah, I
Wild.
mean, your school resource officer. We all had like, did you have a school resource officer? We always
Yeah.
had one. And then he would come out at basketball games and he would go to shoot a hoop and then like dunk. And we'd be like, oh, we got the cops. And then if you,
I don't think we ever had cops playing basketball.
oh, we would have our cop, like our resource officer would come out and like, it'd be like, oh, if you guys sell 100 boxes of cookies, then you can, this guy will shoot hoops at our halftime show.
Dude, that's a whole other conversation. You want to talk about traumatizing the kids in MLMs? Is that it's the cookies. The cookies and like the popcorn that they made us sell.
Yeah, or like the coupon books.
How they were like making fucking millions while giving us
Yeah.
shitty 50-cent toys that we were
Yeah.
clamoring for. That is a whole other beast on its own.
Mm-hmm.
It's so funny that people want to say kids are getting indoctrinated today when they
Well,
were
and
used as literal pawns in a pyramid scheme
exactly. And
and free child labor.
I feel like if I opted out, if I had a kid now in school age and I opted them out of this, I would be, what would we be painted as? Like the fucking radical weirdo. I remember one kid got signed out uh of Dare and we were like, it's because their parents do drugs. But it was probably because their parents were like, no, I don't want a fucking cop with a gun
Yeah. The
talking to
parents
my
are like,
kid.
what the fuck does this cop got to say? So,
Yeah, the parents see Rodney King getting fucking the shit kicked out of him, and they're like, I don't want that guy. I don't want the guy beating him down, talking to my kid. Like, thank you very much. I'll educate my kid on my own dime.
exactly.
Hmm.
Oh, and isn't so funny. Isn't it
Mhm.
so funny how the turntables have tabled? But
Yeah.
anyway, I digress. Um, Speaking of indoctrination, in the link tree in all of our bios, we are at Go to Hell Podcast. I'm at Noel Fane, that is at Sithlard. We have a link to our holiday gift exchange. We're following the dates of Yule, so we'll be pulling names on Tuesday the 22nd. And then you have basically until the end of the month to get those out to people. So join if you want. No pressure whatsoever. It's a fun little tradition we do every year. In that link tree, you'll also find a link to our Patreon. Dollar gets you in. Fun little politics update episode for you.
Hmm.
We also have a link to YouTube where you can bully us in the comments. We have a link to mutual aid networks across the country, so you can check that out, especially during this holiday season. We have a link to our merch where 100% of proceeds are donated. And in that merch site, you can find merch made by Kelly Holloran or at Wildwood Owl on Etsy. She makes cool shit for us. She makes cool shit in general. Check her out. Last minute gifts. Who love, you could just blame the post office. You didn't have to, they don't have to know you bought that on December 24th.
Oh,
You could
I
just be
blame
like,
tariffs on everything.
yeah, it got
It's
caught
either
up in
tariffs
custom.
or the war in Ukraine.
Yeah, exactly. It'll be here, So nothing
Yep.
like a last minute gift. And you can also find a link to listen to us, which I don't know why you'd need it, but it's anywhere podcasts are heard.
Hell yeah.
So, I guess I'm gonna go ahead and give a hail to my father for landing helicopters in baseball fields and football fields of elementary school and middle school because it allowed me to never have to experience dare. And I genuinely think
Mm.
that I'm better off for it because their messaging was not like anything that dare was. It was really like, this is what black tar heroin looks like. And we were
Yeah.
like, whoa,
Yeah.
watch this officer canine fucking attack this dude. And we were like, what?
Well, I got to see that. That was dope. And I was like, wow, they don't normally unleash all these canines on the marginalized groups as another form of oppression and brutalization. Dogs.
I know we were really like, wow, dogs. So,
Yeah.
I'll give a hail to that.
Okay. I'm gonna say hail Smokey the Bear because he never would have done me dirty like Darren did.
So true. Darren, that fucking piece of shit.
Yeah.
That fucking piece of shit.
Fucking lied to me, Darren. Aslan wouldn't have done this to me either.
Who's that?
Aslan from Narnia.
Oh. I was
Wow,
like, what?
illiterate.
I was like, what other mascot was in the classroom?
Toucan Sam would have played
Oh
it
my
straight.
God. I don't know about him. He's a little fruity.
Yeah. No, you're thinking of the Tricks Rabbit.
Oh, he was a
Captain
conniving
Crunch.
conniving
Yeah.
liar.
Uh-huh. Oh my God. We have to go.
Okay, let's get the fuck out of here.
All right. Bye.
Bye.